Now, I've got a poll question that I just put up last hour, and it is a good one, I think. We've been taking calls, by the way. Encourage you to go download the podcast to make sure you don't miss anything from younger people saying, hey, has your impression of who the greatest basketball player of all time is changed based on watching this documentary about Michael Jordan? And a part of that, I said, and let's see, almost 7,000 of you have voted in the first 20 minutes of this poll that has been up. I said Michael Jordan was worried people would hate him after this documentary aired. That's what he said. Do you like Jordan more or less after 8 episodes of the Last Dance documentary? 90% of you are saying you like Michael Jordan more than you did before this documentary aired, which is pretty fascinating to think about. Now, I thought the most crucible moment, the most interesting examination of Michael Jordan and his overall persona came at the end of episode 7 when he was talking about the way that he felt he had to drive his teammates. And you heard a lot of quotes from B.J. Armstrong, from Will Perdue about whether or not they really liked him. Like, was he a nice guy, was the question that B.J. Armstrong got asked. And he was quiet for a long time before he actually answered it. Here's Jordan asking and being asked about that himself and talking about it. I think it's fantastic. Let's listen.
When people see this, they're going to say, well, he wasn't really a nice guy. He may have been a tyrant. Oh, well, that's you, because you never won anything. I wanted to win, but I wanted them to win and be a part of that as well. Like, I don't have to do this. I'm only doing it because it is who I am. That's how I played the game. That was my mentality. If you don't want to play that way, don't play that way.
Jordan said, winning has a price and leadership has a price. He said if he was asked about his own abilities, quote, he never asked me to do something that he didn't effing do. That was Jordan on himself. And I think that is integral. I think that is the most to the essence of Michael Jordan argument. And I think that's about leadership in general. A lot of people out there, regardless of what you do for a living, if you are a leader, the number one test is, are you willing to do that which you are asking others to do? Now, I'm not saying that that you necessarily have to do it every time, but certainly if you're a player, you can't, if you're Michael Jordan, expect everybody to give their all the time unless you also are willing to give your all. Here's the longer form version of Jordan sort of psychoanalyzing that question. I feel like much of what we do now as a society is worry about whether people like us or not. That's a really big deal. With the way social media works, oh, what did you say? Well, how many likes did you get? What is your new picture? Well, how many likes did you get? It's all about trying to appeal to people, oftentimes in an artificial way. And I think that's why people crave authenticity to such a degree. There are tons of you listening to me right now who may not like me, but you trust the fact that I'm being honest with you, and honesty is so rare. I think rarer than ever in a social media age where I would say the LeBron James era of the NBA is all about people liking you. And Michael Jordan didn't really care about whether he was liked. And interestingly enough, not caring makes us like you more because you seem real, right? Authenticity matters so much. And I think that's why 90% of people are responding positively to Michael Jordan in this documentary. Not because you agree with everything that he says, not because you agree with everything that he did, but because he feels real. And that's LeBron's weakness. LeBron has always felt fake because he so desperately is concerned about what people say about him. Jordan was only concerned about what people said about him when it was necessary to get motivation to be able to kick their ass. It wasn't because he was hurt physically, mentally by what people said about him. It's because he wanted to be able to kick their ass, and he went wherever he could to find that motivation. I was laughing as I was watching this documentary because, and I'm looking at my notes, you can hear the pages turning. George Karl didn't say hi to Jordan before that series. And Jordan, when they came back and they won their first of the second three-peat titles, and Jordan, that fired him up. And the funny thing about that is, if George Karl had walked over and said hi to Jordan, he would have found a reason to be offended by that too. That's just the way his mind worked. And again, B.J. Armstrong, Will Perdue, a lot of different players. Was Jordan a good guy? Did you like him? These are the responses that, I got to be honest with you, I think are just fantastic. Here's Jordan asked that same question that B.J. Armstrong was asked.
When people see this, they're going to say, well, he wasn't really a nice guy. He may have been a tyrant. Oh, well, that's you, because you never won anything. I wanted to win, but I wanted them to win and be a part of that as well. I don't have to do this. I'm only doing it because it is who I am. That's how I played the game. That was my mentality. If you don't want to play that way, don't play that way. Break.
That was phenomenal. Right there at the end, if you don't want to play that way, don't play that way. And then saying break. He had to get up. And that, to me, is the essence of Jordan. Victory comes with a price. Most people who are truly great at something are different than you and me. And we try to sand off those edges, and we try to eliminate those raw moments, the punching of the teammate, the fact that Jordan very much, I would imagine, was so competitive that at times he was insufferable to be around. The way he rode his teammates. Jordan talked so much trash to Scott Burrell, he said he was hoping that Burrell would fight him. But Burrell was just so much of a nice guy, he wouldn't stand up to Jordan and actually fight him. I think about this a little bit as a parent now. How do you balance out being tough enough on your kids that they're prepared for a tough world while also being a great and loving parent? I feel like that's something that at times we have lost because we've tried to sand off all the hard edges of society. And as a result, what Jordan was getting at, and sports again is a metaphor for larger life, is when those hard moments of life arrive, do you have the intestinal fortitude? Do you have the internal toughness to be able to combat them? He's referencing the Knicks, but he could just as easily be talking about life's challenges. A loved one dying, losing a job. We are in a period as a country when there are very many challenges raining down upon us. And in challenge and in difficulty often comes loss. And if you aren't tough enough to be able to handle it, you become the person who is in bed under the covers, who doesn't ever want to go outside again because something bad might happen outside to you. And if we helicopter parent too much, and if we try to take away all of the difficulties from our children, then when real challenges arrive, are they tough enough to handle it? Every generation thinks the generation that comes after them is filled with pussy willows. Because as a general rule, life gets easier, not harder. Would 18-year-olds today step off of transports into hail of gunfire in the beaches of Normandy to fight Nazis? I have significant doubts. This generation likes to sit around on Twitter calling people Nazis without actually doing anything in real life. Oh, you know how tough I am? I'm going to retweet this. Oh, you know what a badass I am? I just said the snarkiest thing ever in response to somebody that I disagreed with on social media. I asked the poll question, do you like Jordan more or less? Based on this documentary, 90% of you said more. Do you like the NBA more or less? Would also be a good question. Because immediately after that question, one of you, whose name I've lost because there's so many responses right now, said it doesn't make me like Jordan more. It makes me hate today's NBA more. Because the dudes in today's NBA ain't like Michael Jordan or Patrick Ewing or Reggie Miller or Charles Barkley or Karl Malone or John Stockton or even Steve Kerr. They're softer. They are. Our world is softer, and our athletes are a reflection of that softness. I don't necessarily blame the athletes, but there's no doubt that LeBron James is softer than Michael Jordan was. He's easier on his teammates. He cares desperately about being liked. And that is the biggest difference between them. If most of Michael Jordan's teammates were asked, was he a nice guy? I think most of them would probably immediately say yes. That B.J. Armstrong, do we have the B.J. Armstrong audio of when he got asked if he was a nice guy, the long pause as he thought about it? About what the answer was there? But I think in essence, leadership is defined by this statement that Michael Jordan made that I think everybody out there who's in a leadership position should take to heart. Said Jordan about the way that he led, he never asked me to do something that he didn't effing do. Regardless of what you do as a leader, you can lead your family. You can lead your business. You can lead your church service. You can lead your parade. It doesn't matter where you are in the front, the lead dog, so to speak. Could you say about yourself, I never asked anyone to do something that I didn't effing do?